Okay, so I'm always going to do a book review when I do something that's not book reviewed. Um, this is a book, Acacia, by a guy named Durham. It is a considered this like kind of one of the modern classics of fantasy. And if you start, googling, books like what books are like Game of Thrones and stuff, this book usually pops up. So I had it in like the backlog of books that I hadn't read. Um, and so I finally got around to reading it. It's a long book. It's 750 pages. I admit I didn't need it. I didn't read it in one gulp. Read a couple hundred pages, read something else, came back to it. Um, out of 10, I'd give it a 3 out of 10. If it was 450 pages, probably the number would go higher, because it's just, and I'm not against long books. I think the Game of Thrones books are excellent. But this book is just, I mean, is tediously long. So what's wrong with this book? Well, I mean, there's lots of questionable motives about the groups and the individuals in the book. But what really stands out is the passivity of so much of the storyline. Okay, here's the point. Here's one of the points. There's many of these. The first few hundred pages set up some young characters. Then there's suddenly like a 10-year gap. And when you come back to the characters, they're completely different. Okay, and you don't get to see them develop a la a more kind of terrorist, a strongly terrorist, epic fantasy story, which does that. So, I mean, it's not really a spoiler. One boy is the prince, and then they show up later, and he's become this kind of nomad warrior who's actually just returned from killing this special beast, which again is all off camera, right? We don't see him do that. Another one of the princelings is this like young pirate, captain. The girl, who's a bit bookish, is now kind of the avatar of this goddess in this island land. Okay, so the change just means nothing to the reader because you haven't been there to witness it, right? And then you go, well, why did I just read all this previous storyline so he could just basically create these new characters there? There's many times when a character explains what just happened, foregoing the present, bleaching the story of any energy. I won't again give away the plot, but there's a character we know for a long time who ends up getting killed. Okay, and it's like, oh, he's going. This bad thing's going to happen to him, and then it jumps after him. This reminds me of Tad Williams. You did that like a long time ago. I used to read his epic fantasy books, but that was like in another life. And so there's just, you don't get any present tense. It's all just, oh, well, this just happened. Well, of course, now you already know the outcome. Finally, the twist against the Hainish, these people, is pretty ridiculous. There's 20 generations of child sacrifices in the thousands. There's an addiction to the mist, which is all just kind of ludicrous and something out of a bad comic. Again, I know this book is, some people just love it. I rarely go and look at like Goodreads when I post in Goodreads and see other reviews. Not really, but I did have to go see, and there was a minority amongst myself who expressed similar points of view. So yeah, I would say no, not to read it. Again, if you like epic fantasy, there's other books. I mean, they can all get a little bit tedious, but this is definitely one to avoid.